Number 11. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of life. The worker will try to suppress a groan, and you will have to ask again. He will then lead you to an operating room that looks like any other you might or might not have seen in your life. The worker will give you a scalpel and then leave you alone in the room, locking the door behind him. You will have to wait for almost an hour. Then the door will open and several people will enter the room, including a pregnant woman. The woman will lie down on the operating table. The other people, who will look like doctors, will prepare everything for the child's birth. While they do that, you'll be able to ask the woman one question. Ask, how can they be reassembled? Say nothing else, or the doctors will begin to skin and disassemble you. You'll be fully conscious while they do this. If you have asked the right question, the woman will begin to scream. The child is about to be born. You'll have to wait until it's over, and one of the doctors will give you the child, moving his mouth, but without sound coming from his lips. As soon as he finishes talking and smiles, you'll have to throw the child to the ground and ram the scalpel into its head, or else it'll smash your ribcage and rip your heart out with inhuman strength. If you have thrown the child to the ground in time, it will, despite the scalpel in its head, answer the question you asked earlier. It'll speak with a demonic voice that might drive you mad. While it's talking, the other people in the room will vanish, leaving without a trace. After the child finishes talking, it'll simply die and the door to the room will unlock. You're now free to go if you've not been driven mad by the voice. The dead baby is Object 11 of 538. Dare you not remove the scalpel. Number 12. In any city, in any country, go to any abandoned amusement park you can enter. Find the largest roller coaster in the park, no matter its condition. Take a seat on the far left side of the first cart, and then close your eyes and whisper, "I wish to see the holder of catastrophe." You'll feel the coaster start to move, but you cannot open your eyes, or you'll find yourself moving through an endless void in which you can never escape. The coaster will then slowly start to head up. For what seems to be ages, you'll listen to the rumbling of the tracks. You'll then hear voices whisper at you and ask you to save them, yet you must not respond to them, or they will take you away to the same void to which they belong. The voices will stop speaking to you and the cart will come to a stop. With your eyes still closed, you must grasp the bar of the cart as tightly as possible, or you'll be left behind forever. After you do so, you'll feel yourself plummeting straight down at impossible speeds. The air around you will start to grow cold, and continues as it feels as if you're freezing. If you sense the cart around you disappear, you must keep hold to the bar, as it's the only thing keeping you attached to reality. Abruptly, you'll stop, drop the bar, and sit still with your eyes closed until you start to hear the sound of a carnival fair in the distance, and only then can you open your eyes, to which you'll be greeted by a large pinstriped circus tent a few yards in front of you, surrounded by meadows of happy people, young and old. You must walk towards the tent, staring at the small entrance that's shrouded in darkness. As you continue walking, the scenery around you will start morphing. Slowly, the meadow dies. The carnival music slows and bends in pitch until it starts to sound twisted and demonic. The people decay in the very spots they stand. They'll scream in agony and ask you to help them, yet you cannot look directly at them, or you'll meet the same fate as these illusions. You must continue forward until you finally reach the dark entrance. Walk forward and allow yourself to be swallowed by the darkness, yet do not stop or look back, for if you do either, you'll never find an exit. Continue your walk into the void until you see a dim light in the distance and start to hear the sobbing of a man. Follow these two signs. You'll hear the crying of the man growing louder until you see the light is coming from a door in the darkness. When you walk through the door, you'll be greeted by a cold cement cell. In the far left corner, you'll see a crying man dressed as a circus clown, covering his face with a small diary. He'll slowly approach you, as not to aggravate him, until he's right by your feet. Sit down next to him and ask, "What do we have to lose?" The clown will then read you an excerpt from the diary through his sobs. The writings in detail describe the demise of millions of innocents and the forces that so cruelly and coldly called out this act. As he reads, illusions will appear around you, and in the side of your vision you'll see every death of every person in the story, many of which were slaughtered, many of which were taken by disease. However, you must keep looking at the clown. If you lose sight of him, you will be stuck in the illusion and you will become part of the story yourself. After he's done, he'll stop crying. He'll lower the book from the front of his face, revealing that he has suffered the same decay as the illusions which you have seen before. He'll hand the book to you, which you must accept. He warns that you cannot read the diary yourself, or else you be driven mad. He will then whisper, when the stakes are high, best to play the clown. The rest of his body starts to decay, as well as the room around you. You must close your eyes one more time, keeping hold of the book, and count to exactly 12 seconds before opening them. When you do, you'll find yourself in the same seat of the roller coaster in which you began. The diary is Object 12 of 538. These events must never be allowed to occur again. Number 13. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask with no hesitation to visit to someone who calls himself the Holder of Darkness. The worker will mock you, but you have to stay calm as possible. Keep asking him until he stops denying and withdraws from his counter to guide you through the corridors. As his behavior changes radically, stay on guard. For if you start hearing one single, tiny, sinister hiss, you should turn around and flee as far as you can, covering your ears, because the time was bad. If you do not escape in time, the faint sound will turn into a dreadful growling that will soon merge into a continuous shriek of sheer pain, until madness floods you and leaves you to die in a deafening agony. If the warden remains silent, he will lead you to a closed door with neither handles nor lock. As he pushes it open effortlessly, you will see an ascending, winding staircase which can't possibly lead to any upper floor of the establishment. The door will close behind you and you will not be able to push it back. Past this point, climb, and do not turn back, or you will fall into a bottomless pit waiting for prey to chew upon. Do not count the steps, for knowing how many there are will drive you to insanity. One will then creak, and at that point you should stop. Another door should open on your left. If it is on your right, then pray for a swift passing. Enter slowly into the room, and a blinding, obscuring darkness shall descend upon you. You'll be required to walk straight forward, for staying even slightly will lead you to be devoured by the roaming and unknown creatures observing you with blinding and purulent eyes. You'll know you have arrived when coldness grips you. At that very moment, freeze, or you'll die by the hands of the holder who is standing right in front of you. In complete darkness, even closing your eyes will not prevent you from this horrid appearance. It will form into your mind as the most outrageous monster ever conceived, and madness will try to creep into your brain as worms over a decaying corpse. His fulminating breath and constant mumbling will be enough to make you cry, but be advised not to utter anything louder than a weeping, for you might wake what must not be awakened. The only question you'll be able to whisper without being torn apart will be, what do they fear? You'll feel movements all around you, as shudders animate your opponents. You'll hear what nameless and incurable diseases will strike the world if they were to be frightened. The countless terrors their own fright will unleash on those with a weaker mind than theirs. Amidst the atrocious enumerations of the endless sores the world will suffer, you might hear the simplest, almost ridiculous, yet impassable and certain truth they all fear. Do not move again. When your head is about to implode, it'll stop. If you're still able to move, you'll find a door in front of you which leads you outside of the ward. There, in the open, in the grass, a broken hourglass will wait for you. You're free to pick it up. It's object number 13 of 538. Your knowledge of their fears is up to you to share, but you may not want to use it as a weapon against them. Number 14. In any city, in any country, venture across the highways and lonely roads until you reach the city's bottom rung. Walk amongst the ones society has cast away, beggars and poor picked raw by demands of those better off. Should you come across a scruffy man under a large oak tree, holding a bottle of liquor in a paper bag, his shirt sweat-stained and his pants muddied, do not be afraid to ask him if he knows the one who calls himself the holder of the adversary. More than likely, he'll smile knowingly at you, like an old friend with whom you've just shared an inside joke. Do not be alarmed. The man knows of the one you are searching for. The less fortunate of us often know things that we never dreamed of. He'll guide you to a manhole and casually slide the metal lid off with one grimy boot. Tossing you a small flashlight which flickers precariously, he'll urge you down into the darkness. Once into the putrid womb of the sewer system, you'll come to realize that it bears no unpleasant scent. No scent whatsoever, in fact. But, turning on the flashlight and gazing at your surroundings, you'll notice that you're in a round room. On all the walls will hang partially decomposed bodies, their owners forever suspended in a state of half-awareness, feeling all the pain and horror of a body withering and rotting around them. Corpses litter the floors, and you may notice that one nearly touches you. Do not shrink back. To show cowardice would invite no creature or entity that you would do well to know. Once you've observed your surroundings, the smell will arrive. It'll be the most awful thing you could imagine. Human and animal excrement, sulfur, rotting bodies, burning flesh. You'll want to claw your nose from your face, and the watering in your eyes will nearly blind you. But do not cower, and do not run, and resist the urge to vomit, and you'll find the thought in your head unbidden. We are the remains of the ones who could not face the adversary. There is no source of this whisper, though it may curl around you as if carried by the stench itself. Suddenly, the bodies will rupture and burst, one by one, releasing more of the horrible stench and bathing you in rotten bodily fluids and slimy clumps of human refuse. The corpses will sink to the floor, and what rises from the slurry is a creature of pure beauty. Man, woman, or something else entirely. It depends on you yourself. It will not be possible to shake your gaze from this gorgeous naked human until you realize the creature is an idolized caricature of you. Confident, heart-achingly gorgeous, smiling a gentle, patient smile. It'll be everything you yourself could ever desire of becoming. You'll be overcome by a sudden jealousy, a total anger, a need to annihilate this perfect you. Do not give in, no matter how strong the temptation. If you do, you're doomed to the adversary's wrath, the eternal torment of the damned you've witnessed prior. There's only one question you must ask this exquisite creature. What could they destroy? The holder of the adversary will laugh at you melodically, condescendingly, and will explain to you as though you are a small, stupid child exactly the answer to your question. It'll spare you no details, even the most horrific. Though horrifying, the story will be interesting and calming to listen to, and you'll find yourself absorbed in a childlike fascination with the holder. You may liken its story to one told to you by a loved one or a guide when you were a child, and you'll know that you now have the key to defeating the adversary, that which the damned could not acquire. At the end of the story, the holder will ask, smiling pleasantly, "What will you do now, my child?" If it asks you anything else, or tells you something different, your fate is sealed, and when you eventually emerge from the sewer, the ragged people you have encountered will descend upon you like ravenous animals and tear you apart with tooth and nail, feeding on your body. There is no escape, only the knowledge that it will happen. Regardless of your fate, the holder will place an object in your palm and close your hand around it. You mustn't open your hand until you are free of this place, it'll say as a fitting goodbye. Now you must turn to leave, and do not look back. Once you escape the sewer, and if you're lucky, you may open your fingers. What you will find there is a green plastic army man toy. The toy is object 14 of 538. It understands how to defeat your greatest foe, and must never be allowed to join the rest. Number 15. In any city and any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of the past. At the last syllable of your sentence, his eyes should open wide and stare at you as if he was attempting to see past your skin into your soul. Don't ask any questions, because he won't speak to you. And in the case that he does, you'll wish he hadn't. He'll take you down a long hallway, and you'll walk with him for what seems like hours. Stare straight ahead the entire time, for if you look at the floor, walls, or ceiling of the hallway, you'll run into a dead end, and the worker will pursue you with a hellish bloodthirst until you are completely disemboweled. After exactly 350 paces, the worker will stop, turn around, and pull a watch out of his pocket. He'll turn the dial backwards 1 hour, and at that point, you'll have 1 hour to complete your task. If you don't, then there are no words to describe your fate. The lights will go out for exactly 3 seconds, and when they turn back on, you'll be in a room with no doors and a red-tinted skylight shaped like a pentagram. This will cast a blood star in the middle of the room, where a splintered cherry table with 2 seats will be. Sitting at the seat closest to you, look up. Look down again, and a man with long, dirty black hair will be face down on the table. He will answer to only one question. Where did he once stand? The man will speak not of a place that exists on any map, but will describe the room in painfully grotesque detail. Pay very close attention. He will enumerate exactly how many of what object hang from spears protruding from the walls. You have the rest of the hour to find the room and sit in his throne. If you fail, I suggest you become armed. Heavily. His throne is object 15 of 538. If brought together, he may once again return.